Aha, we're back. Loaded Mac, live line. And we have to say it, everyone has it in the chat. You hear it. Good evening. Good evening. That's what you're going to hear. Everyone's sick of it already. Good evening.
If this deal doesn't happen now, we're all going to look like complete tools. Done that.
We are, yeah. But it could be worse. Martin, I'm going to hand over to you because you lined up someone special to kick off the show.
I have lined up someone special. So obviously last couple of weeks I've been really full on with work and I haven't been on the shows, and these lads have been keeping them going. And as you may or may not have seen at the Chelsea game and kind of pre-Chelsea game and pretty much for the whole week, one of our good friends, Al Waleed, has been bombing it around Newcastle and has now achieved fairly much star status, even with a message from Alan Shearer and other people. And he's kind of been tagging himself all around Newcastle. But one of the things that was floating around Twitter on Saturday after the game was a picture of Al Waleed dancing on a stage with a very, very famous Northeast singer doing an absolute cracking version of Banks of the River Tyne, which is his single that's out at the moment. So with what we said was, obviously for me and Daz, we can't get to the games as often as everybody else. So I was kind of tipping around today. I sent this lad a message to say, could we get you on a show sometime? And he said, I'm booked out till March, but I can do tonight. So without further ado, I want to bring on Junior Turner, who is going to give us his rendition of Banks of the River Tyne. So let's bring him on.
Welcome, Junior.
There he is.
Good evening.
Welcome, pal. Thanks very much for coming on. Good. So, yeah, listen, fair play to you. We kind of DM'd earlier today, and I was mad to get you on, and you went, no, listen, mate, booked out until March. Not a hope of doing a Friday. And I was like, all right. We do other shows, and then you went, I'm free tonight. And I went, can you do about 7:30? You went, I need bother. Can I come on and do a sound check first, though, because I don't want to look daft. So we did a sound check.
And
you were like, I hope it works now. Spent a fortune on this kit. So yeah, look, we'll get into it. We'll have a chat afterwards. So we'll let you kick it off. This is Banks of the River Tyne by Junior. Go for it.
Newcastle's where I come from, and it's in the heart of me. A Geordie's what I am, and that I'm proud to be. When you look back at our history, it just fills your heart with pride. From the coal mines in the shipyards to the bridges on the Tyne. No matter where life takes us, wherever we may roam, it can never change us, 'cause the Northeast's always home. Take me home to the banks of the River Tyne. Take me home to the place that I call mine. It's a place I love best, 'cause it's better than the rest. Take me home to the banks of the River Tyne. There's lights that burn so brightly, in the northeast sky they shine. From a place that Geordies worship, where legends wear number 9. You can travel right round the world, even meet the Pope in Rome. But nothing beats a feeling of when you come back here to home. No matter how life changes, we'll never be far apart. 'Cause the Northeast's always home, and it's always in your heart. Take me home to the banks of the River Tyne. Take me home to the place that I call mine. It's a place I love best, 'cause it's better than the rest. Take me home to the banks of the River Tyne. Don't forget you can get the song on Spotify and all them places. Go Raj, get it on your playlists. And if you're a Mackem, suck it up. Here we go. Come on! Hey! Take me home to the banks of the River Tyne. Take me home to the place that I call mine. It's a place I love best, 'cause it's better than the rest. Take me home to the banks of the River Tyne. Take me home to the banks of the River Tyne. Take me home to the place that I call mine. It's a place I love best, yes, it's better than the rest. Take me home to the banks of the River Tyne. Back of the net.
Class.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely
Well done,
class.
Junior.
That's Junior.
Thank you very much.
Is there any better way to start a show? I mean, we've had like a few weeks back when the takeover happened, we had Davy Craig on doing Local Hero, and I no disrespect to Davy, who's a quality guitarist, but I think Junior has just kind of topped our musical intro for shows by a long way. Some of the comments coming in are brilliant. Listen, that is absolutely cracking. Obviously, it was belting around the stadium, and I was laughing my head off at the video of you in Wonderbar and Al Walid dancing. And I think you were telling me earlier on when you're on, you're back in there Friday night, is it?
4th of December. Is it the Burnley game?
Yep.
The Burnley game. Wonderbar got in touch with it. Like, I had loads of missed calls and stuff. And I didn't know the phone number, so I didn't ring it back straight away. And then eventually I got told by someone, that's the manager of Wonderbar. So I was like, all right, okay, I'll answer it. I thought it was like PIP or maybe CSA or one of them trying to catch up with us. So I rang it back and they were like, oh, come and get you back. And I was like, oh, well, I can come back, but I don't know about me dancer. So I'll
yeah, we'll have to ask Al Walid. I'm sure now. I can see a tour forming out of this somewhere.
Yeah, it's gonna be like a new stage show, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Sure,
yeah, I can see.
The Saudi dancer with the Saudi dancer.
There's obviously going to be a Saudi leg of it as well. I can just see Junior Turner going down well in a stadium somewhere in Riyadh.
Yeah,
that out to about 100,000. That'd be mint.
I'm open to
So, I obviously, listen. As I said, thanks very much for coming on.
Anytime.
What's your feel on? Obviously, we've had the takeover, and then obviously we've had any amount of people kind of mentioned about managers and everything else. So what's your current feel on the club? Lots of people, if you look at both sides of Twitter, loads of people have been panicking because there's been no appointment. Loads of people worrying. I went on with the guys last night on Fans Forum on NUFC Toon Talk, and I kind of said to the lads, which I took a little bit of flack for from some of the comments, I said, I'm not actually that worried about relegation. I don't want it, but I'm not actually that concerned either because, it's not like we've got Ashley and Bruce. I think, a future secure regardless of what happens, but I can fully understand the consortium taking the time to appoint the right manager and director of football. So what's your current view, Junior, on where things are at, I suppose?
I think there's been that many names. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? Like, this last, 2 weeks or whatever it's been, I think the bookies must be sick as well because how many names they've had leading the race. There's been every man and his dog in there, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? But I think firstly, addressing what you've said about the relegation, we actually discussed that on Saturday, because realistically, it doesn't matter who comes in, that's a squad they've got until January. And really, December is a big month because you play midweek games, the weather, the injuries, they all tend to come in that period. So if anything, it's going to be a tough period for whoever comes in. So for me, the relegation thing is realistic. I mean, we can't turn our face away from that. If it did happen, I don't think it's a bad thing, because it would be a clean slate completely for whoever come in. It would just be that the project would take perhaps longer than anticipated to hit the ground running. So that side of it, I kind of agree with, because we have to be realistic. Us Geordies are very needy. We want the best for our club. We want Premiership football. We want the glory days back, the entertainers and stuff. But again, we've got to be realistic with where we are, and where we are now is in a relegation battle. So again, yeah, if that happens, great. So be it. Let's just wipe the slate clean and start. Because realistically, like I think Alan Shearer said, 5 of those players against Chelsea were there 5 years ago when we were last relegated. So it goes to show you how far we've come from the last relegation. We've still got half of that squad. In terms of the management, Unai Emery, the one thing he will bring from what we witnessed at Arsenal, he had a hell of a defence, which is something that there was like someone's made like a GIF image on Twitter where there's like 3 defenders, and I think it's the Chelsea. One of the Chelsea players got. He's not even doing anything on the ball. He's just waving his leg around the ball, and there's 3 of them like stood there, so the froze. Get into him, get him nailed. You know what I mean? Smash him, take him out, do whatever you've got to do. But the thing is that Unai Emery will bring that. But again, what we have to do, it doesn't matter who walks in that door. We need to be realistic. That's the squad he's got. That's the squad he's going to have till January. And where will we be come January? That's what we have to consider, no matter who it is, whether it's Roberto Martinez, whether it's Emery, whether it's Eddie Howe. They're all in the same boat, and they're going to have to work with what we've got.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the interesting thing, there was quite a few reacting last night when I kind of went, I wouldn't be bothered if we went down. And it's, I suppose to clarify, I don't want to see us relegated, but there's also a part of me kind of says that, as you've said, Junior, it might not be a bad thing either, in that rebuild can still take place, probably at a much easier level, to get going and get back up. Now, obviously, we don't want to go down, and hopefully we get some fairly astute buys in January. I mean, certainly as of this evening, it would appear that Emery is the one that's going to take the hot seat. Seems to be that this evening is his last game with Villarreal. That the compensation, certainly from Matt Hardy and a few other reporters, that the compensation is agreed.
Yeah,
5 million. Last game with Villarreal tonight, and hopefully over to Newcastle between kind of Wednesday evening and Thursday, with the hopes that he will take charge of the game on Saturday for Brighton. Me personally, Unai Emery is somebody that we mentioned on Loaded Mag a few weeks back, and I stuck his name out there. And at the time, I don't think he was really being spoken about. And I kind of said, I don't understand why he's not being talked about, because he's a serial winner. I think if you look at him at Arsenal, okay, his first season, he had a pretty good season for a coach coming into England.
Yeah.
And I think if you look at the factor that he had to fill the shoes left behind by Arsene Wenger, I thought he did a pretty good job. I think, okay, look, second season, didn't really work out for him. And I think, probably from my perspective, I think Arsenal pulled the trigger too quick.
Yeah.
But look, their loss, somebody else's gain. But he's gone to kind of Villarreal, and he's been winning things since. He knows how to set up. And I one of the things that I said about Emery, with him coming on board, one of my reasons was, I said that as the club progresses in this project, and some of the players that we may bring in, I thought that he would be the kind of coach that we needed, because I think we will end up with a very multicultural team of players. And I think you need a coach that understands that can deal with, perhaps not as many English or homegrown players, shall we say, in that team. So he was somebody that kind of I put his name out there a few weeks back. I know a couple of other people, Steve Hasty on Toon Talk said the same on the Amigos, and he didn't really get much clarity. Do you think, I mean, Daz and Richie as well, do you think he's the best of what we can attract at the moment? Obviously, Conte's gone to Spurs, but do you think he's right? You know, Simon Jordan's on TalkSport today saying, you know, he's never had to fight a relegation battle. He's not what we need right now. You know, other people saying, you know, we need a Sam Allardyce, so we need an English manager who's used to fighting relegation battles. You know, well, in fairness, we had one of them who got 7 wins out of 39. You know, and you know, got his 1,000-game trophy, but couldn't get us up the table. So, I have absolutely no doubts that Emery, if he is the man, will come in and succeed. But just Daz, Richie, Junior, what's your thoughts on that?
Definitely, he's definitely a great selection. Just look at his record. I was just putting this together today, and what he's won. He's won something near where he's been, and his record at Arsenal was a 55% win rate. Now this is from Wikipedia, so it mightn't be 100% accurate, but why not give him a chance? Okay, he won't be used of a relegation scrap in England, but give it a go. See how he works out for him. And it's good that we're not just looking to bring in someone in the short term. There's talk of a 3-year contract, so there's a bit of confidence in his ability, and it's kind of setting out the stall for the club what they want to do. They're laying out a marker there and go after it. You know, and we are like, and we'll go back to some stats again. We are 6 points off safety. With this month is a month that we can potentially pick up points. As we all said before, December is looking an awful lot more difficult. But get him in there, get him in as quick as possible now at this stage, and give him a run and let him get to get the best out of the players we have. Good luck to him with that. But and try and get some points on the boards to make it easier in January than to try and attract some players and to steer us clear and get us at least 17th spot. Happy days.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, Taz, let you take the lead again. Do you want to bring some of these other fellas on here that are sitting in the green room? We've got
a few fellas in the green room. We've got 4 of the lads. So I don't want to keep them waiting too long. So first of all, I want to bring out Carl. Now, first I want to apologize to Carl, because Carl at a recent Newcastle game, he bumped into our Chris. And our Chris was there with his merchandise, so annoying anyone he saw. So apologies to that, Carl. Of course, then Chris wanted pictures with everyone he met. But I think it's all is forgiven. So let's get on, Carl. Welcome, buddy.
Evening, buddy.
Yeah,
all good, Carl. Great to have you back. Along with Carl, we have Chris A, and he's not wearing his Chelsea top. No, he's changed.
Hello, man.
His blue jersey. Welcome, Chris. I want to bring, I see Donald's in there as well. I'm going to bring out Donald next. Right, Donald, welcome.
Good evening, all.
Good evening. Yes.
Hello again. Hello again, Richie, as well.
Yeah. So I had a good chat you on Friday, didn't I, Donald?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
And last but not least, I want to bring out this man's biggest fan, Steve Bruce's biggest fan. That's why I wanted Wilfred on to join us tonight, so we could hear those rants one more.
Welcome, Wilfred. Welcome, Wilfred.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us, lads. And okay, let's go to you first, Wilfred. And you can set the tone. What topic would you like to discuss tonight? Everyone's probably going to focus on one topic, but whatever takes your fancy.
Yeah, can I just say, Daz, just before we start, just Junior, you're more than welcome to hang around if you want to, mate. So just whenever you feel like getting gone, if you're happy to hang around and comment and join in the chat, mate, then stick around for the show.
I live with the 2 parents, so it's either this or UK Gold. I'll stick around.
That's saying something when we get brushed off for that. Jesus Christ. No bother. Good man. Happy to have you on.
Right.
Go on, Dad. Sorry, pal.
Okay, so good evening, guys. Good evening, everybody watching. Thank you guys for inviting me to your absolutely fabulous show. I've been dreaming of this day when I can, come on air and talk to you guys and all the fans. Right. So I think the first thing I want to talk about is to say congratulations to everybody on our takeover. This takeover is bigger than we all thought, and people should not take it for granted. There's been a lot of talk about the new owners are too slow, what's going to happen. We shouldn't care too much about that. Let's enjoy the fact that we finally left Mike Ashley. We're going to have ambition. We're going to have the club that we desire, that we deserve, and it's going to take a lot of work to do. So for the first time, we need to be patient. I want to tell the fans, we need to be patient. We need to be supportive. It's a journey of a long time. It's going to start one day and it's going to take a while to get to where we want to go. So patience is what is needed. Let's enjoy the moment. Let's have fun with our new owners. Let's support them. And let's forget about the pundits. When you're successful, a lot of people will hate you. That's normal. Forget about the human rights stuff that they're talking about. Yeah, it is important. We want Saudi Arabia to be a good government. We want them to be inclusive. We want them to be, everything we want that is good for humanity. But the reality is the fans are not the one who's going to change the world. The only thing we can do is to be positive, voice our opinion in a positive way, encourage, unity between the Saudi Arabian fans and UK fans, everybody's fans, African fans, to make Newcastle the global club that we should be. Our lead is in town. One of I've never met him, but it's like a brother. I enjoy seeing him. The reception is getting everywhere. The love that is being shown. How can you not love that? That's what football can do for you. So Walid's example is what we want to continue with. That's the only thing we can do. Foster unity, bring everybody together, and enjoy ourselves as a football fan. We're not going to change any government. We don't do government. We don't do politics. We are football fans. First of all, is for us to enjoy our football, unite ourselves is the minimum we can do. We leave the politics for the politician. We leave, all those kind of human rights to the government. If the UK government is good enough to trade with Saudi Arabia, if the American president can take his entire family to Saudi Arabia for a visit to do multi-billion deals and said jobs, 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 jobs. Unfortunately, I don't have the accent of America. Excuse me, Chris. But that's what your president said. Donald Trump, I remember, said jobs, 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 because Saudi Arabia is going to come and invest. So why can't Newcastle take Saudi investment? It's a fantastic investment. We should rejoice in it. We should be proud of it. Those who don't like it, they can switch off their TV when Newcastle is playing. That's absolutely perfect. So nobody should feel guilty. It took us a long time to get to this point. I was in London with most of you guys to demonstrate during COVID. We were on Twitter day and night fighting Premiership, taking the risk of being sued for slander or whatever to get this takeover going. So now that we have it, we should enjoy it. We should be patient. Coming to the topic of maybe if we get relegated, what's the big deal? Before you take 10 steps forward, you might take 2 steps backward. That's life. We're not going to get relegated. I'm sure of that. Emery is a fantastic coach. He wasn't lucky in Arsenal. Doesn't mean he's not going to be lucky in Newcastle. There's going to be money in January. He's going to be able to go out there and buy good players. He already have good players in Villarreal that he can bring to us in January. So all we need to do is be patient, be supportive of the new owners, continue to, unite ourselves as a fan, and then the dawn of new era is here, and we should just simply enjoy it. That's my take.
I saw Wilfred. I'll try and summarize what Wilfred said. Just get on board and enjoy. There you go.
Exactly.
Nice
so Ruud Hullet says that even with Unai Emery, he's not the right man for Newcastle because nobody in the club will be able to attract players because Newcastle is not attractive as London. So For me, that's a media myth. And I think when you get the quality of manager and you've got that consortium where double digits talk on pay slips, I think we can attract as many players from around the world as we need, because money talks at the end of the day. So that's the kind of media nonsense that's floating around there tonight from people like Ruud Gullit, who in fairness had probably two of the best strikers of an era in Duncan Ferguson and Alan Shearer, and left them on a bench on a rainy night as we went down 2-1 to Sunderland at St James's.
Yeah, I remember.
So, I don't really think he's worth listening to. But that's the kind of crap that's floating around tonight from people that don't want to see this club succeed and get decent managers and players. But anyway, maybe that's rants. Is that a different show? Yeah, could be.
Yeah. That was the one you're on last night, wasn't it?
Was the one I did make an appearance last night? I did, yes.
When they changed the name,
it was, yeah. It was all going to plan until I said I'm not worried about relegation. Then it went up slightly south.
Carl, we'll go to you next. What's the topic you want to bring to us and wants to discuss tonight?
Well, it has to be Emery, didn't it? But I mean, obviously, there's a lot of people like on Twitter getting impatient and losing their rag over how long things have taken. But you've got to remember, like, it's when the consortium came in and they'd done their original interviews, just Amanda says they're going to do a full review of the club from top to bottom. There must be so much they're uncovering what needs sorted. And I also think that forget about the takeover, if Mike Ashley was still in charge of the club and he sacked Steve Bruce after that Spurs game, he probably would have appointed another manager within a day or two. But this is a totally different situation we find ourselves in. They're literally having to appoint so many different people in different areas of the club, as in the infrastructure. They need to get a director of football on board who's going to basically be in tune with a manager. So they have to be in agreements on decisions and stuff going forward. So there's so many different positions in the club what needs filled. Sporting directors, advisors, if they're following the Man City way, then there's so many people and roles what needs filled. It's almost been like a one-man band for how many years now? Literally Mike Ashley and Lee Charnley. So
this was the point I made last night, Carl. The people, like Twitter the last couple of days has kind of driven me a little bit crazy. In the fact that, people have kind of been tweeting, Maydad and other people going, what's going on? We need to, give us an update, this, that, the other. But like the club, one of the things I said, there were two things. One is this director of football stroke manager, first team coach, whatever you want to call it, those two appointments, or certainly the managerial appointments, are probably two of the most critical appointments that this club has made in the last 15 years. So if they're going to take that time to get it right, then I'm happy to trust in them and trust in that process, because either way, regardless of what happens and how long that takes, our future is secure, whether we're in trouble this season or not. And I think that's, for me, why one of the things I said, I'm not overly worried about the league position. I'm not overly worried that we haven't won a game in 10. It might be different with other owners and managers here. The other thing that the point I tried to get across last night on Fan Forum as well, last night with Chris and Pete, was the club is a mess from the inside out and down and up. Yeah. So they're probably trying to unravel business deals that Mike and Charnley put in there that has many dots and connections that takes probably, it's like unwrapping a Chinese puzzle.
It's like a car, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's like buying a car what looks great until you get
what
it.
They need in the club.
No engine.
They need to work out what they need at each level. They need to know, they probably need marketing. They probably need media. They probably need a whole heap of other stuff. So, I think all of that takes time. And to run a successful football club, you need the right pegs in the right holes.
Yeah.
So the managerial one is only one, but we want this consortium to run the club properly. And that does take time. And I think we need to just be cognizant of that fact that, when that takeover happened, one of the things that Maydad said live on the TV was, guys, we're glad to be here, but it's going to take us time.
Yeah.
And I think we just need not panic and start, getting out of shape. Yeah, because we've had 14 years of shite. We don't need to worry about that no more. They will communicate with us. They will do the right thing. These are serious, serious business people. I mean, somebody yesterday said to me, yeah, they're good business people. They don't know anything about football.
But they'll hire the right people that do.
Yeah, they hire the right people. Jamie Rubin is a very, very good football person. He's worked at QPR for untold years, is a very, very good director, understands football, knows how a football club works. and I'm sure he'll do a really, really good job. So I'm not worried, but let them do their job. Let them build the club up.
They've got to get these appointments right. These are the most important appointments. They've got to get these right. Otherwise, you know, if they don't get them right, we know what happens at the end of the season if these are bad appointments, what they make now.
The coaching piece for me, getting the right manager is right, because otherwise what we're going to do is you're just going to end up being another Spurs. Like, you know, people are raving. Conte's gone in there today. He signed an 18-month contract for 20 million. Why is he not signed for 2 full seasons? Something about that doesn't stack up to me. But everybody's talking as if it's the best thing since sliced bread. But we don't want to do that. You know, like if you look at that, they've had Pochettino, they've had Mourinho, they've had Nuno, and now they've got Conte in the space of 6-7 years.
Yeah.
So I'd rather get the right person, take our time, but be stable for 6-7 years.
And I tell you what, on Friday night before Saturday's game, I was getting picture messages off my mate, who he works for the foundation of the club, and he was he had a meeting at the club like really late. It was like 8 o'clock at night, and obviously the lads were setting up the flag and stuff, and he was sending us a few pictures of the Gallagher and stuff, and he was talking to the guy who he answers to, and he was saying, "Oh, Amanda and Maydad, they're still here now. They're literally working." That was like 7-8 o'clock at night on Friday, so they must be working round the clock, constant.
Absolutely.
We just have to have faith in them, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, it's going to take time, and yeah, they are going to hire the best in the business, and you can imagine like there's people do probably double and treble job in there in behind the scenes, because cutting costs was what Ashley was all about. So untangle all that web and ask the people who are in there now, what do they need? What would make their jobs better? And that's why they were going to conduct interviews with each individual employee, I believe, and just kind of get the best of what they. It's kind of like on the footballing side as well. Get the best out of what they have and hire who they need to hire as well, and make it all better. But good point, Carl. Chris A, let's go to you next. What topic would you like to bring to the table, Chris A?
Yes, so I want to pull back a little bit from just talking about Emery, but to talk about what the council called Newcastle's statement of intent. And there was a number of options you could have gone into for a managerial hire. There was a relegation specialist, which some of the UK people are advocating to hire somebody like Allardyce, or those kind of also rans, Redknapp or something. And then other people were saying, it's too early to go for a club builder. You need a firefighter. But I think in Unai Emery, if the reports are to believe, we have somebody. There was more than one person who could have fulfilled all these roles. Of course, people were talking. First was about Rafa. It doesn't like Rafa will be let go by Everton. I'm happy. Personally, I didn't know too much about Unai Emery. I only really knew about his experience from Arsenal. But looking into him, he's got 11 trophies, which is 11 more trophies than Newcastle has won in our lifetimes. And he seems like another thing I picked up on the reports reading about him is that he's both like a man manager and a taskmaster. And it seems like we've in the past we've had to choose between the guy that puts his arm around you but doesn't really ask for much results on the pitch. But it seems like he's able to do both the man management to really build respect among all of his players. And I read one thing when he was dismissed from Arsenal. Every single player who was fit, who was not out injured, came to see him personally, and that to me speaks to the respect that he gets among his players, and while demanding excellence and being a real taskmaster that has that form, that real kind of tactics and strategy that we've been missing from current management. And he does both the man management and the like tactical expertise. And so I think, if we're able to deliver him, it would be a fantastic thing to go from a championship manager also ran to someone who's currently, as I watch right now, managing in the Champions League and a 4-time winner of the Europa. So, fair play to Amanda and Merdad and Jamie for the not making like the fast choice, but making the right choice. Hopefully he's not somebody that's just going to be here for 18 months like Monty, but someone that could do both phase 1 and 2, and rather than just having this firefighter that they wanted for phase 1, because everyone's talking about, you don't want to be Newcastle's first manager, you want to be Newcastle's second manager. But I feel like in Emery, you've got somebody that can be both sort of 1 and 2 in one person, and that you could see him finding a home at Newcastle. And of course, I think we all saw that amazing video that Katie posted earlier today, showing Unai Emery on the pitch in the park, while the music played from that song that we all know and love, and it's just what an amazing video, and he seemed like enraptured by the whole scene, and just what a great video, and shows what kind of person that we're hopefully bringing to St. James Park.
Cheers, Chris. Hopefully, yeah, we do see him at St. James's Park sooner rather than later. People are talking about tomorrow. People are talking about Thursday. Let's see. It'll take as long as it takes. It'd be nice to have him there for the Brighton game and get his input into the game. Even though it won't have an awful lot of time. I imagine Graham Jones will lead the charge there. But we shall see. Donald, let's go to you next.
Yeah.
What topic would you like to bring to us, Donald?
Yeah, just obviously we all know that we witnessed absolute dross on Saturday, yeah. And one thing I noticed for the first goal, just analysing the first goal, the old thing of no matter what level of football you play, space. If you're defending, you got to make sure you close the space, yeah. And we were deeper. I know. I watched it on stream. We were deeper than Captain Nemo's Nautilus. I noticed, and we were literally. The way we were defending, we were saying to Chelsea, come on, play. Come on. In you come, lads. We're like, Jeeves the butler, letting them in, But hopefully, with our new managerial appointment, that sort of mistakes need to be cut out. Especially, as I go at the first goal, everybody seemed to be drawn towards the ball, typical ball watching. Nobody saw the blind side don't run down the right-hand side. I mean, it was an acres of space. Basics, a lot of basic errors made. And obviously that's the first thing that needs to be sorted if we're to, get out the choppy waters of relegation places, etc. Because a lot of basic errors I noticed on Saturday, which you wouldn't expect from, people who play football.
It's the same type, Donald, it was Chelsea who were playing.
True.
No, favourites for the league and European champions, of course, as well. Champions League. But
we beat them last season.
That was Bruce's luck, was it?
I think. Do you know what? I think Chris and Pete made a good point on last night's show, which was those mistakes, and I take Donald's point, but those mistakes are creeping in because they're not playing for each other. They're so, and listen, lads, everyone on this panel, everyone that watches these shows know I give Lascelles a really hard time, and he's regressed, and trademark, he's not my captain, but they're so struggling. If you have a team like Chelsea where one or two players run out of form, they can cover it because they've got a bench of superstars. We've probably got 5 or 6 of our probably most influential players who are not in form and are struggling. And to be fair to Lascelles and some of the other players, when they're out of form and they're struggling to get their own game together, and I have said on numerous occasions, Lascelles not my captain. How can anybody be a leader on that team when they're struggling to get their own game together, let alone getting everybody else's game together? So I think, we still have a problem with leadership, but I think the bigger thing with our form, and I take Donald's point about the dross that was served up on Saturday, is we've probably got about 7 players out of that first 11 or first 15 that are so out of form and not playing to their best ability. We can't cover that because we don't have the players to drop an out of form player or an out of form defender, because we just don't have the depth. So it's a huge concern for me that manager coming in needs to really address the form and the personal issues with some of the players to get their confidences back up. But it's not like you've got one bad player. We've probably got about 7 or 8 of them at the moment, and that's the thing that does worry me more than anything else, which is how do you get that shit back together? I don't know. I know people will say, well, getting a couple of wins breeds confidence, but when we're defending like we are, and 3 or 4 of your defenders in that back 5 are not playing particularly well, it's a massive, massive struggle. And I think it's that's the hardest thing for me. I see with this manager coming in, the lads made a point about addressing the balance. Probably if you go back to the Spanish Weda, we were really good defensively, but we didn't have the attacking players to get up the pitch. We were playing on the counter attack. Now we've got the attacking players, and we've gone to pieces defensively. So we've not had an overall balance across the team. What we've had is we've had balance defensively, lost it, got balance attacking wise, and lost the defense, and vice versa. So we've not had that overall kind of status quo across the team. So I think it shouldn't be underestimated. It's a massive job, I think, to get some of those players back to even a half decent level of performance that gets us those wins. But when you look at that defense and probably some of the midfielders on Saturday, there's no confidence there. They're not playing for each other. There's no leadership there because they're so worried about making mistakes individually. They're making them because they're thinking and overthinking the game. And I think that's massively one of the things I think we need to address with any new manager and coaching staff coming in.
Yeah, I actually wanted to jump in there and just make a point that we've heard a million times that we can't change the squad until January, but we can change the first team. And bringing in a player, Jamal Lewis, or bringing in Fabian Schär, who hasn't played hardly all season, would be like if they're fit, and if they haven't atrophied by sitting on the bench or in the stand or whatever, if we can get those guys in there, it is a bit of under a new manager who. This is why I'm a little worried about the reports that whoever we bring in, that Graham Jones will be on the squad, because I wouldn't want him to carry over Steve, like the Steve Bruce players, and say, oh, Schär's no good, or don't give Jamal Lewis a chance. I want everyone in the squad under a new manager to, until we can replace them in January, to have a chance to show the new manager what they can do. And so I'm a little worried that if you have a carryover like Graham Jones in there, that he's going to hold back those players that have been held back under Bruce and since Steve Bruce has been in there. And I think that he's a good person, a good local lad, I would sort of wouldn't want the new manager to be held back at anything by the old guard. And I still see Graham Jones as sort of part of the Steve Bruce.
But the other side of that, though, Chris, is right. There's whatever the first team plus maybe another 7 or 8 players in amongst that squad. With Bruce going, new takeover, new owners coming in. The thing I didn't see on Saturday, and again I said this last night, was I didn't see any one of those players fighting to keep a shirt and trying to show those new owners that, hey, I know you're going to bring in a new manager. I know you're going to bring in players in January. I know this project's probably going to take off because of who the ownership is, but I want to be part of that. And I didn't see in that 11, including other players, maybe Wilson maybe as a standout, but I didn't see anybody else on that pitch trying to stake a claim to stay in this team in a black and white shirt and own it and go, I deserve to be part of this.
Yeah.
And the part of this moving forward. None of them.
We don't know how Jamal Lewis would respond to post Bruce because we haven't seen him play and we haven't seen Shea get a chance. We've just been left with a guy like Kraft, who's not a center back, being forced, square peg to a round hole. And let's give the only true left back that we have on the squad either Dummett and Lewis a chance in there and not keep playing the same back four, back five that have gotten us no wins.
That left hand side with Dummett and Lewis just in front of him, I think could be a very, very, really good left hand side. But it just doesn't seem to get the run out. And I think the bigger thing for people on Saturday, and again, I didn't go to the match, but I spoke to Paul Oxley and a couple of others who went to the game, and they said, the hardest thing was getting there, seeing that setup, and the fact that Jones didn't go for it. He had a stronger bench than the 11 he put out. And he had an opportunity, a massive opportunity to stake a claim and make change. And he didn't do it. He went with the same setup and the same style of play and pretty much the same team.
Exactly the same team.
Was there the week prior. So, again, from Jones's perspective, would you not... I was shocked to see that and go, why not go balls out? Why not go balls deep and go, right, I'm going for the win? And Daz, I think you made a point. Why not go out there and go, right, at least we're going to go for it and play a 4-2-3-1 or, the famous Richie loaded formation 4-1-4-1 and physically go out there for it.
No, that wasn't me, Martin, because I had a line up with park the bus tactic really against Chelsea. Fair enough, have a go when you're playing Crystal Palace. But Chelsea, you have to play defensive.
But it didn't matter, Daz. We still lost.
Still lost.
I'm 1-0 down. I'd rather see him wipe that at 60 minutes when they scored and gone, right, you know what? Fuck it. I'm now going to go for it. And I think
he was just about
50,000. Exactly, but I think 50,000 in that stadium would have walked away if we'd got home 5-0 and gone, well, at least we went for it. Yeah. Whereas we went down with a whimper.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. He for me, he was playing playing defensive, and then he was about to spring his switch it up a bit and go a bit more attacking. Then we conceded the goal, and then it just all fell apart from there in that 15-minute spell. I did see what he was doing, and I'm going to go back to Chris's question because I think, Chris, your question was along the lines of about Graham Jones and about if Emery comes in, what is he going to do with Graham Jones? But I think Graham Jones will fit into any team management team, and there's always going to be a role for him. Like if England have their pick of who they want to bring in as a coach on a temporary basis, and they pick Graham Jones in the Euros. So there is a place for him. Like I'm sure Emery will bring in his own team as well, but there's a role for Jones for me, and I wouldn't be afraid of keeping him on. It's good to have someone there that has the background on things as well.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Let's say that the new manager keeps him on at least to the end of the year, and then see if Martinez wants him back for the World Cup. Actually, the World Cup's going to be November, December, so that wouldn't quite figure in the plans yet. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm not anti Graham Jones. I'm just a little disappointed that he's basically hasn't put his imprint on the team and basically has kept the same Steve Bruce lineup and Steve Bruce shape beyond taking Joe Linton out.
I think a lot of people were looking forward to seeing did he do something on Saturday, Chris, and I think for me, the fact that he didn't change it up on Saturday, I think a lot of fans lost faith with him. That would be my opinion. I mean, Junior, what do you think? Do you think that Jones had a chance to fix things up on Saturday? Do you think he was wrong to do what he did, or do you think, as Daz said, he was right to park the bus and try it, or do you think he had an opportunity and blew it?
For me, he should have took the handbrake off on Saturday. Should have just said, "Look, go and do what you can. You know, impress the new owners. There's a new manager coming in. They're going to be looking. You know, the candidates probably knew who they were at that point. There's obviously talks took place, so they'll all been watching. So look, you know, there's maybe 5-6 managers out there potentially weighing up the job, and it's your job to go out and kind of put your stamp forward for the guy walking into the training, you know, the training facilities, and now's your chance. And it pretty much reminds us of like Leeds, you know, like Leeds sometimes they just throw it on the line and they get beat 4-5, but when you watch them on Match of the Day, they've still give it a bloody good go. Whereas Newcastle Park and the bus thing, it worked under Rafa for whatever reason, but maybe under Rafa, you know, they had a manager they were playing for. I mean, the Leicester game away, you remember that, where tackles were flying in left, right, and centre. On Saturday, they were just stood ball watching. And for me, one of the biggest problems Newcastle's got going forward, and you just touched on it there before, is the left-back position. Matt Ritchie is not a left-back. Somehow he's found himself there, whether it be Jamal Lewis, they don't rate him, or they don't think he's ready yet, whatever. But 2 of the goals came from that left-back position, and a lot of the goals lately have came from that left-back position, whether it's been Matt Ritchie's been ball side rather than goal side. But I feel sorry because for me, Matt Ritchie should have had the captain's armband a long time ago in that team, because if anyone's got passion, you know, then it's him. Because having Jamal Lascelles as captain, like, I don't see it. I don't see why he's got the captain's armband. He's a championship player. Again, it's one of them things where we've discussed it before. He's a championship player, and what's going on? You know, I mean, you've got Fernandez and Shaw there. There's much better players, and this is something else that I don't understand when Newcastle, and this goes back to when we signed Jonas Gutierrez. He was playing on the right in Spain and created something like 41 assists he had when we signed him, and then we brought him in. And he goes from the right side of midfield to the left side to left wing back. Newcastle's got like a history of patterns of trying to put round pegs in square holes. And I don't know why they do it or why they persist in doing it, but the same's happened with Matt Ritchie. And I feel sorry for him because Matt Ritchie, for me, he's not a world beater. He's not but you'll get 110% out of him every game.
Passion, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the one thing. And for me, right now, going forward, if Emery comes in, the first thing I'll be saying to Emery is, you need to go and find yourself a Kevin Nolan or a Joey Barton to get a hold of them little piss weak footballers that after one goal the head goes down and they couldn't give a shit. Then we need someone, an old fashioned proper footballer, gutsy footballer, and he just needs to have that one player that's not going to let the others just, you know, get their heads down. So, you know, going forward, I think there's a lot of work to be done, but where do you start? Because at the minute, that shit show is not going anywhere.
Do you know, Junior, just following on you saying about leadership, I think the one thing about Matt Ritchie is unfortunately his legs have gone, I think, really now. That's one of the main issues. And it's like, I know that clip of the Leicester clip that does the rounds every so many months when there's all those tackles flying in. I actually watched it from a different angle today, and Matt Ritchie gave the ball away twice in the left back position when he won it. I think he was playing just in front of Paul Dummett on that occasion, you know, and he was just trying to do little, you know, cute things and stuff like that. And he just can't do it at this level, unfortunately. See, for me, the person I'd probably have as a captain at the minute, and he's probably it makes such a difference to our defence when he's on the pitch, is Dubravka. Now, I know a lot of people turn around and say, don't have a goalkeeper as you, because he's not in the middle of the pitch. But the other thing is, he can see the whole pitch. He can dictate. How many times do you see people turning around and saying that one of the things that Dubravka's fantastic at compared to Darlow is he's vocal, and that's what you need from your keeper and your captain.
Yeah.
That team that you started on Saturday, yes, I agree. She's probably the most vocal person on that pitch. But the dire situation we're in now, we can't just put him on the pitch because he's local. In my opinion, that's the only thing.
I agree. But I think what I was trying to get in there was that's what we're missing at the minute is a voice on the pitch, and he's the only one that's got that at the minute. And besides that, I mean, like Emil Kraft, if you're talking about Jamal Lewis not being Premiership ready, then he's found his feet lately. He's had a few nice touches, the little step over the other day and stuff going forward. But defensively, that's not what we want at the minute. We're leaking goals left, right, and centre. You need to be looking at a solid back four. And for me, obviously, like I said, Matt Ritchie's not a left back. Emil Kraft is not a polished right back. Jamal Lascelles is 3 yards short. Majority of goals, if you watch, where Lascelles is involved, he's that busy thinking about what he's having for his supper. By the time he switched his cell back on, they've scored. So for me, Fernandez and Shaw need to get back in that team. But I think, the one thing I wanted to say just before as well, before going off topic, the one thing that's pissing me off more than anything, just on social media, how many players are we being linked with and we haven't even got a manager?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It is, Junior, and like that's all to come. Like you have to have the manager and the director of football or sporting director, and then they all get together and they talk about, because they're all going to have different ideas, and there's people above them as well who have ideas, and the team will there'll be a panel that'll sit around. They'll talk about all these. But that's a lot of it is agent talk as well, and putting their own players in the shop window and stuff. So it's
I think it gets a higher wage. It's completely from the agents, because if the agent says, "Look, my players linked to Newcastle, you guys have to pay a higher wage because Newcastle will."
Oh yeah, but to be saying that Newcastle's shortlisting players and all that, I mean, I'm surprised we haven't had the Chronicles 5 things we've learned about Unai Emery. That's been released yet?
Tomorrow morning.
Oh, excellent! I'll wait for that shit. No, but honestly, look, at the minute, I think it's right what we're saying. I think everyone's just got to be a bit more patient. I've seen Newcastle fans on social media the last couple of days getting itchy feet and getting a bit negative about, the taking the time and what. You've got to remember, I mean, when Mike Ashley came in, Sam Allardyce was gone within a blink of an eye. And then what came thereafter was just a 14-year shit show. And I think Amanda Staveley, PIF, and the Rubens will have looked at that and they'll not want to replicate that. So I think the one thing they did from the outset is said, look, when we get in here, no matter what we do in the process of how we move forward, we'll do it all in good time and make sure we try and get it right rather than rush in, because they've seen Mike Ashley's past and they do not want to be coming in, bringing in Eddie Howe and going down and staying down. And they've put that much money in, that they want to get it right. So I think Newcastle fans, we've always been impatient because, like me, I was brought up on Kevin Keegan's Entertainers Football. I would love it back tomorrow, but I'm realistic. Unai Emery coming in tomorrow, Newcastle's not going to go on an unbeaten streak between now and the end of the season. I'm realistic. Newcastle fans, fan base, we want what we deserve, but it's going to take time.
Project.
I think, exactly. You know what? I think Unai Emery's probably you look at the 2 weeks due diligence they've done on all the coaches, I think he's the perfect candidate, in my opinion. We looked at people like, over the last 2 weeks, Eddie Howe. Yes, he's got the Premiership experience, so we'll know the type of players that we need to get out of this mess who's going to be fantastic from our league and stuff like that. Then you had people like looking at Lucien Favre, got a fantastic record when he was at Dortmund and wherever he's been, but he's never been in a relegation scrap in the Premier League for a league that's still new to him. Whereas, Paulo Fonseca, fantastic attacking coach, his stats fantastic as well, did everything he could do with Shakhtar. He pretty much lost his job at Roma because Mourinho came in. But then if you actually, get down the nuts and bolts things with Unai Emery, his experience in the Premier League at a team where he came in after Arsene Wenger, who was there for 20-odd years, who, it's the same as when David Moyes came in at Man United. How do you replace Sir Alex Ferguson? It's like the same with Unai Emery. How are you going to replace Arsene Wenger? There was a lot of bad stuff going on at that club at the time when he came in, that he was trying to right wrongs and stuff like that. But, by the by on all that, he's got experience in the Premier League. He's got, experience overseas. So he speaks English, he speaks Spanish, he speaks French. So we've got a multicultural speaking manager there. He knows our league. So people like, we've been linked with people like Aaron Ramsey. He's had them at Arsenal before. So if he's someone he could bring in from overseas who, we'd probably have to pay a little bit to get out of his contract or whatever he's left to bring him in, but it's a realistic target who knows the league, who can come in. So there's lots of different things that he knows about this league already, which will benefit us going forward. And I think he's on that basis, it's a good mid-term to long-term appointment rather than the short-term. Like Eddie Howe could have been an 18-month one where, after 18 months, you're then going to have to start again. With Unai Emery, you can recruit now in the winter and the summer and build on that in the winter and the summer in 12 months, 18 months and so forth. It's just like what Man City did. They had Mark Hughes came in, so we had Steve Bruce. They both went. They brought Mancini in. Looks like we're bringing Unai Emery in. So to me, I think, they had Mancini, then they had Pellegrini, then they've got Guardiola. I'm thinking Emery is probably going to be a combination of Mancini and Pellegrini in one go. See where that goes. In 3 to 5 years' time, which it's a 3-year contract, he might have a fantastic success in that 3 years period. So then you would give him an option for another contract or an extra year or whatever, wherever we stand.
Yeah.
But we're going to have a much better squad by then, and we're going to then be able to attract a possibly better coach, like the Contes, the Mourinhos, whoever you want to put in that top tier caliber of managers. So I think it's the perfect appointment for what we need right now. And I think he ticks all the boxes. And I'm glad it's taken 2 weeks to tick all those boxes.
You talked about Man City there, and I remember that when Mark Hughes came in, but also the owners, if you remember as well, they went like a marquee signing. Robinho, was it at the time?
Yeah.
So I'm sure our owners want to make a statement of intent in that first window. So, do you think that'll be part of the plan as well, that come January they'll want to bring in a big name?
Possibly, but what I would rather do is I'd rather see them spend that money on Premier League caliber players. Like we've discussed numerous times on this show over the last couple of weeks. You've got James Tarkowski, who's available in the summer for a free. I'd be looking to get a Premier League quality centre back in the last 6 months of his contract and bring him in. He would bolster that centre back position straight away. I mentioned, looking at someone like Kieran Trippier at Atletico Madrid. He's not happy over in Spain, wants to come back. We're lacking in the right back department, but there's other fantastic right backs out there as well. I would rather get fantastic Premier League quality players who know the league, who are possibly out of favour at other clubs. Even you go out like your Ross Barkley's, who's he seems to have turned around a little bit over the last few months, and now he's getting a bit more of a chance. People like that who aren't possibly getting a look at the top, a bit like what we used to do when we used to get to Man United cast-offs in the 90s and the early noughties. We got like Keith Gillespie, we got Nicky Butt, and people like that who weren't good enough to get to the Man United team, but were fantastic players for us. And I think that's what we possibly could be doing with these big six clubs. Look at people that we can read from there. There's rumours that Lacazette's not happy. Unai Emery got the best out of him in Arsenal. I think he'd be a fantastic addition for Newcastle. He's out of contract in the summer as well. Make a stab at him in the January window. We'll add goals and quality straight away. I imagine he'd be a good chemistry with Alan Saint-Maximin with the French connection. They'll just get on a good wave. A bit like what Fraser has with Wilson, but obviously they haven't been playing together very much since they've both been at Newcastle. But you've got players who are going to be on that same sort of wave, which can take Newcastle forward. So, I think, as I said, perfect appointment. I think you go for more Premier League experienced players that will strengthen this squad rather than go for a marquee signing personally.
It's basically we're not where you're going to be in January, isn't it? Because you're going to have to try and persuade. If you want a marquee signing, how do you persuade someone a marquee signing for silly money to come in if we're going to be sitting second bottom still or third bottom still? That many question marks about where we're going to be come May. Richie, I agree with you, Richie. We need some experienced Premier League players to come in and fingers crossed and get over the line.
Yeah, I also believe a good manager can also improve poor players. I mean, look at what
Look
at what David Moyes is doing in West Ham. Who would have thought West Ham will play beautiful games like that? They haven't got any world beater in the team apart from Antonio, but he's coming, he's studied the team, and he's turned them to really, really good players. So I think Emery, we see what he's going to do in the next maybe 3-4 games. If you look at all these players and just maybe they need to listen to the new voice, the new strategy, and they might just, do the job.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't need extra players, but I don't think our players are really that bad. They were good under Benitez, but listen to Stephen Bruce for 2 years can turn you to a terrible player, honestly.
Yeah.
So I'm optimistic.
Sorry, lads. Am I right or wrong that is Longstaff, Shaw, and Dummett out of contract in the summer?
This summer.
Yeah, this summer. Sure. So basically, anyone we bring in, we've got to shift someone out of the 25-man squad regardless.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So you need to start looking at. We last time I was talking to you about it, Martin, wasn't it? About who was going to get if the takeover happened tomorrow. Who would the pay contracts up? I think
you'll see a load.
I wouldn't be shocked if we're seeing the likes of Dummett, Longstaff, Shaw. They might get their contracts just paid up in January. See you later, off the books.
Yeah, I think you'll see. I think you'll see a good few that'll happen. I think you'll see upwards of 7-8 players, maybe. I think you'll see the likes of even though it was a 3-year deal. I think January you'll see them do a quick offload deal on cheap money for Dwight Gale to maybe West Brom or somebody. You'll see 7-8 players gone out that squad. I think from a perspective to bolster us to even keep us in the game this season, I think we need at least 6-7 players. At least.
And I just want to point out really quickly, we haven't mentioned Joe Willock, and of course Joe Willock will have played under Unai Emery, and believe the report, he enjoyed playing under Unai Emery. So there was at least some one player that Unai Emery knows personally, and I think can help further develop him the way that he wasn't being developed. Getting playing time at Arsenal, and that's why he was moved to Newcastle, and obviously not getting much playing time now this year.
Lads, our time is up, I'm afraid. We could probably pick little topics and be talking about them for another hour. Well, great last topic there, Richie and young Richie. Nice one. Thanks for getting that in. Everyone loves young Richie. But lads, thanks a million for coming on. Just before we go, I'm going to say anyone that hasn't subscribed yet to hit that subscribe button at the bottom right-hand corner, or go to youtube.com/loadedhq and get us to 2K. That'd be nice by Christmas. The nice Christmas present. We were peddling that get us to 1K, but now we're saying get us to 2K. But and also a shout out to our sponsors. And I have let's get the Chris picture. Here it is. The Central Ale, Chris, our roving reporter, and the only Bruce left in town. The only Bruce we still left in. Get yourself down to Central Ale. He's lost. Look at him. He's got loads of alcohol there. So
he needs to do something with those shorts, though. I must text him and tell him he hasn't really got the legs for that no more. I will tell him when I see him.
So I want to thank Chris A, Carl, Junior. Splendid music, tune. Make sure you get on to
Banks of the River Tyne.
Get to some of Junior's shows, and make sure you buy the single or you watch it on YouTube. Get those numbers up. Donald, thanks for coming on as well, and Wilfred, your debut as well. Thanks for coming on.
Well done.
Yeah.
And that is it for tonight, I think.
Absolutely. December 4th, Burnley game. Make sure you get in Wonder Bar because Junior is in there after the game. And we'll be playing and doing a few other things. Probably no Al Walid this time. He's probably, I would say, with the carry on in Newcastle this week, it'd be a long time before he's allowed back by his wife. If you are kicking around for the Burnley game, get into the Wonder Bar afterwards. Junior will be there. Have a chat with him. Say hi. Hopefully, a few of us will eventually get over. Listen, massive thanks. Those that didn't join earlier on, I did DM. Junior very, very early on this evening said, could you come on? And he obliged. So fair play, cracking start to the show, and the tune is a real belt. And I'm sure it'll go massive. So hopefully I'll get over there and I'll catch up with you as soon as I can, Junior. But thanks very much for coming on.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers, guys.
No worries, pal. We'll keep in touch. It does wrap it up.
That has been Loaded Mag. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Live line, even. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Cheers.